Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the On Time, On Target morning show. Have a great show for you today. We're going to talk about bank earnings because so many banks have released earnings this morning. And we're going to talk about how banks make money as far as our topic of the day. Tickers that we're going to look at over there. We got JP Morgan, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, Wells Fargo, and the not often heard of, but a little bank I invest in called Lebanon Citizens National Bank. We'll also talk about the index fund KBE if you want to invest in all the banks. As far as our day trading scorecard update from yesterday, our short on AMC did work, went all the way down to $3.52 by the end of the day. So +3R on our trade. We'll look to build upon that this week. All right. In other words, you can join us for $25 a month. Check us out at OTOT.now. You can come into the room live. With that, let's go ahead and get the morning started. All right, welcome to the morning brief where we invest with military precision. There we go. We invest with military precision. For some reason the video wasn't playing to everybody this morning. All right, so make sure you have your question and answers window set up. Make sure you have your call sign in there. I see a couple new names. I like that. And make sure you have your chat window set up with both panelists and attendees selected. As far as our disclaimer, remember this is a financial educational presentation, so you have to do your own due diligence before you act on anything you hear in this presentation. I do not know your personal situation. All right, our mission objectives for Wednesday, October 14th, we're going to grow our money, protect our money, and live off our money. Primarily, we're going to talk about what not to invest in today, and that's the banks. All the bank earnings are out, so we will take a look at those, and I will talk about the specific companies I mentioned in the intro and which ones I think you can invest in and where they go from there. We're also, for our question of the day, going to talk about how banks make money and how challenging it is for banks to make money right now in the current interest rate environment being so low. For our flow today, we're going to long, short, open, short, long. We'll do a market review of around the world. We'll talk about today's headlines, and then we will get to the long-term investment topic, looking at the individual banks and some of their valuations. And then we will, 5 minutes prior, we'll switch into day trading mode, which we've done very well, been up the past 2 weeks. We're up this week already. We had the short and AMC workout yesterday towards the end of the day. It was one of those set it and forget it sort of trades, but it did hit the 3R point of $3.52 late in the day. We will execute the market open. I will answer all your questions, and we will talk about how banks make money. And if you have any contingencies, reach out to me at the email below. All right, let's take a look about where the market is. And there we go. Nope, that's the wrong one. I want to go up to Think Pipes. All right, there you go. You see 4 screens. Those will be back to our day trading screens. We'll come back to that in a minute. Right now, you should see the S&P 500 one-year chart from left to right. You can see lately we've done pretty well on a pretty decent uptick there, up to the 350 level. We held that yesterday. So far, the futures are in the green today. So it'll be interesting to see if we hold that. And we are within reach of new highs. Now, new highs going into the election would certainly be surprising, but the market has been surprising as of late. Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, was on CNBC yesterday, and they reiterated some of this morning, is that he actually says the retail investor is piling money into the market in droves right now. And again, that data comes from like Robinhood, things like that, that folks are very optimistic for the market going in the big election. So is that them being naive, or do they know something we don't? I don't know. I tend to think that's more towards naive. I'm still going to stay risk off unless you absolutely reach out to me and say time to go back risk on. We're just going to wait. The election's not that far out, and then we will pivot back to risk on if that is the right move at the time. All right, taking a look at the 5-day, we did take a little breather from this straight up pattern that we've had to, this was our big Monday up day. Excuse me. Yeah, sold off kind of yesterday, about flat going into the open. So I think today could go either way, but I think long term the next move is down, in my opinion. All right, as far as there's the charts, we'll go back for day trading here in a minute. All right, let's go down to cnbc.com and check out what's going on with the futures. We'll refresh those real quick. All right, so there you see up a little bit there as far as getting things going this morning. We'll take a look around the world. Europe is mixed, not a whole lot of action up or down. Same with Asia, all less than 1% across the board. There's our numbers from yesterday. Volatility about 26. If you're in the VXX, at some point I'm going to have to give up on that, probably around the election. I've been starting to get some folks out of it now, but for the most part around the election, if volatility hasn't spiked by then, I don't think it's going to spike. So we shall see. Bonds, not a whole lot of movement. Oil still holding the $40 level. You like that. Had a nice move up in silver yesterday. So again, precious metals going into the election, you would think would lead to some gains there. All right, let's go over to the headlines. Big banks are the topic of the day as well as the headline. So we had the bank earnings at JP Morgan yesterday that beat earnings, and get rid of that ad. There we go. And the big thing there is they beat earnings. Goldman Sachs beat earnings. You can see that bond trading is where they made their money, though. So you can't, when you see trading making money, you can't always make money to the level. These big trading desks can't always just sit there and print money over and over and over. There are certain scenarios where it's kind of like our day trade. Sometimes they set up, sometimes they don't. Sometimes we don't trade at all. Well, these people have to trade. That's their job. So when they go to work, they're trading no matter what they see. So when they get most of their earnings from that, that's kind of sketchy, because generally big banks should make money from net interest margin, which we'll talk about later. Bank of America, I have some folks in that. I think today is the end of the Bank America thing, because they're so far undervalued and they missed on revenue. I just can't stick with them, even though they're ridiculously cheap. We'll talk about that in a minute. Wells Fargo still has not recovered from the ethical challenges it had with opening new accounts for its clients. If you watch the switch into Apple, if you watched the event yesterday, iPhone 12 looks pretty good. The Pro version has a camera that's basically the Dolby Cinema HD level, and they have LiDAR, which is the light detection and ranging. So basically it makes a 3D, your pictures are going to almost appear in a full 3D manner. So if you're up for the iPhone 12, the basic models are available this Friday for ordering, and then you get them, they'll start shipping the following Friday. If you want the big Pro, the big 6.4 inch, they're making a super iPhone, the mini tablet for your pocket. I used to have one of those with the Galaxy Notes. I'm not going back. Those are coming out in a month, so those will be early November. Priced about the same. You're going to drop $1,000 if you want one of these on the Pro side anyway. All right, let's see what else we have. If you're following along some of the drama / comedy of the Supreme Court justice things that the senator did, or somebody asked her if she's ever sexually assaulted somebody. So that's a rather interesting question. But remember, that was what the last nomination series was all about. And then if you saw it, I saw it on Twitter. Somebody asked her what she has in her notes to help her ask the questions, and she lifted up a blank sheet of paper, like just from scratch pad paper. So I think, in my opinion, she is kicking butt through the confirmation hearings. But again, that almost has nothing to do with her. It has everything to do with the political football of going into the election. All right. Starbucks continues working on social agenda issues. Mortgage rates falling. Bill Gates is getting probably more attention than he deserves, in my opinion, on this whole COVID thing. He's been all over the map, and to me, it continues to be all over the map. So I don't think that's necessarily helpful. Yeah, a lot of issues in Britain about the second wave of COVID, as well as some of the issues they're going through. So I don't think Britain's that investable for about the next 6 months. All right. Yeah, so there has been talk about the NFL going into bubble like the NBA did, which obviously worked for the NBA, but there's a lot smaller numbers there. But yeah, I don't know. NFL is managing to get its season in. It had a Tuesday night game last night. That didn't seem to be the end of the world. So all in all, I think things are going okay in the sports realm. I was glad to see that there wasn't an overreaction in the NFL, because if the NFL goes to the wayside, we're going to lose college football. And if college football goes, then basically all sports are going to be back off. That's an opinion, but we shall see. All right, let's talk about the investment topic of the day. That's banks. Here's JP Morgan I have pulled up for you. You can see that once it hit the bottomed out in COVID, it really has not recovered across the board. Things to look at: dividend 3.57% while you wait. But again, when it dropped from 130 to 100, 25%, it takes you 8 years to make that up in the dividend. So don't invest just for the dividend unless you're living off dividends. However, valuation, it's undervalued. Now, when you think really undervalued, let's talk Bank of America. Same chart, same pain, even lower valuation. So, I mean, that's why I have a few of you in BAC, but it's gone today. It just, they can't make money in this environment. That's my opinion, but we will, that's the interest rates aren't going to go up anytime soon, is my opinion. All right, let's go over to Schwab and take a look at the other banks I have on the chart here. We have JP Morgan and Bank of America that we already talked about. Another bank that crushed earnings this morning, and they aren't really gapping up too much, couple percent, is Goldman Sachs. They've held up kind of better because they're more on the investment bank side of things. So we'll see. Overall, this chart's probably the best of all of them. But again, I'm not putting money in Goldman right here either. Wells Fargo has completely been left for dead. If you still have it, just log in today and sell it. I don't think it's coming back anytime soon. We're talking years before I think this is coming back. So Lebanon Citizens, again, so when you think of banks, there's like your big powerhouse banks, and then there's your regional banks, which are, I think Frost is a regional we have here in Texas. And then you think of your local banks, which are like cities banks. So when you think of about, do banks make a lot of money? Well, they make a ton of money. When you go to a small town with 10,000 people in it, it's got, 2 gas stations, a McDonald's, a Taco Bell, a Walmart, and 7 banks, right? So how can that be possible? Well, that's because they're so used to printing money. So it's not really that the banks don't make money. It's that the banks don't make enough money to pay for all of the lethargic infrastructure that they've put in place based off of always making a ton of money. So it's like they can't control their expenses. So it's kind of crazy. Again, I wouldn't be hopping into any banks right here. Even Lebanon Citizens, I may even have to sell, even though it does have a nice dividend. And then what is Luckin Coffee sneaking up in there? No Luckin, bad Luckin. Back to your cave. KBE is the index fund for banks that we want to talk about. Yeah, this is you're owning all the properties in a bad neighborhood. So I would get out of this. I used this a long time as a place to hold money. Just can't now. They're not coming back anytime soon. All right, let's take a look at the short side of things. I'm going to repost what I put in here earlier. So I saw a name pop up that is interested. Let's get this out. There you go in the chat window. There's 3 long names we're going to take a look at, and 1 short name. Nothing's really setting up perfectly this morning. So not in a super big hurry to trade here, but let's take a look at a few names. So, all right, starting with the best name out there is what I put, GameStop. So GameStop has an activist investor going in, and here's, I don't want to spook you into here's all the reasons I don't like it, but I don't like it. Plenty of volume, nice gap up from 1188 to 1262. However, that's gapping up to right here, even though recently it was up at 14.5. I don't know if this has a lot of room to run. after, I mean, this was what, 2 months ago, it was down at 450. So I mean, it's really moved up, and it's still GameStop. It's still a brick and mortar software store when you can download everything. So it meets our numbers. It meets the investment philosophy. There's a perfect headline for it. Maybe it goes higher, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. It's tough to hit buy GameStop, right? So we'll take a look at it though. It's still probably my number one out of the choices we have this morning. All right, JMIA, Jumia Tech. It has the volume and it has the gap, but it doesn't have any news. However, it's been on a recovery string, so I like this a little bit better. A lot of momentum behind it. Not from 450 up here, but from $8. This is a 50% move, not like GameStop's had several 100% move. So that's why I like this one a little bit better. Unfortunately, I don't know the headline. Other names out there: Dave and Buster, Play, opening back up. We'll just put these up for longs here in a second. Does have the volume 1464 up to 15, so there is a gap. Trying to find how much of it is, if it's up to $5 yet. I suppose I should just do the math real time, but since that's not going to give it to me, so that's what, 35 cents, not quite 5% there. So we shall see. Maybe it's down here. But that's an option. We'll kind of circle back to that. THTX I like, except for it is short on volume significantly. 28,000, so 228 up to 240. This is a clinical trial, so a lot to like here, except for the fact it doesn't have the volume. So we'll have to come back to that. Let's see. Bed Bath & Beyond is also a long. They're obviously recovering pretty heavily here. They've doubled in about the past months and everything I don't like about the chart, but they're selling off some assets. So they're restructuring, if you will. So they are up, I think 6% is what I had written down, 5.4% pre-market. So we shall see. All right, and the last one is an upgrade on the long side, NEO. Look at this chart. This is crazy. This is NEO. So the Chinese EV maker, it's pulling a Tesla. It's exactly what it's doing. So you cannot justify the valuation up here, but JP Morgan turned bullish, triples price target. Dear Lord. So, all right, that's gapping up from 2162 up to 2388, which is over 10%. Tons of volume, probably the volume leader it is. So it's 10.5% there. So I just can't take this higher, but you certainly could. If you could back this, yeah, look at this. It's down at 11.50 a few months back, and really you go 6 months back, it's down at like $5. So crazy to have some of this in the book, so I'm happy, but that's just insane for evaluation. All right, so on the short side, several things met our criteria, but they were all stock offering issues. The only one we're going to take a look at doesn't even meet our criteria, but to have something short up here, 1 million shares, 11.95 down to 10.80. Beautiful chart as far as being able to, all these people are going to have buyer's remorse that bought in here if this thing breaks down hard. So let's see, volume, is it on this one? No, it didn't quite make the list. Not on there either. So, but significant volume, obviously the gap down 10.95, it's probably, I had 11%. That doesn't look like 11% anymore. Well, it's close to it. It's a little over $1, so maybe it is. So anyhow, we'll take a look at that on the short side and kind of see how it sets up. I'm not excited about it, so really looking for setups today. All right, let's switch over to our TD Ameritrade. Bring that down here to the main screen. All right, and share that out to you. Again, we have GameStop long. In our left panel, we have Jumia Tech, both, so it'll be long, long, short. And then short is SRNE. Make myself smaller here so we can see. All right, 30 seconds to go. Welcome to the On Time On Target play of the day. We have 4 screens in front of you. We have a left screen, which is the market itself. Futures are up a little bit. We have 2 longs. We have GameStop long on the left screen. The middle screen here is Jumia, which is long as well. And then we have Sorrento Therapeutics that is off to the right. That is short. You can see there's the opening bell. Market just up a bit. Again, GameStop up 6.5%. Jumia up 5%. It was up higher earlier. Obviously, you can see the congestion there. And then already we have Sorrento down more than 10%. So it doesn't really meet our trading model, but we will keep an eye on it. And we have some other names to kind of flip to and check out as well. All right, making my screen a little bigger here so we can keep an eye on things. All right, GameStop's selling off here. Do a little, well, that's not a whole lot. It looks big, but it's not. That's only about 10 cents there. If we get into GameStop, again, we're looking at probably a 15-cent stop or so as we're looking at. Jumia just jumped here, pretty significant. Again, looking 15 to 20 cent stop. And then I do like how Sorrento's backing up here. This is profit taking. So backing up to the minus 10% level. So let's take Jumia. How's the market? Yeah, market is going red. Let's take Jumia short here. Well, that's pretty move up in, excuse me, Jumia. Jumia is long. We're not taking that short. So let this thing go. Looking at Sorrento short after all of the profit taking here from the short. So it's back up at that 10%. So let's look at an entry at 1068 to the downside, and we are going to need a 20-cent stop if that hits for the 1068. We're going to move that higher if we can. Again, looking at Sorrento short. Just waiting on it. GameStop selling off, so not really interested in that. Jumia has already taken off, so don't like our longs there. And look at GameStop selling off. Okay, get ready, 1070 for our short in SRNE. Again, plus 3R in the week already because AMC short worked out yesterday towards the end of the day. So I'm more inclined to be more aggressive. So 1070 with a 16-cent stop. There it is. We are in the trade once it hit it. So we'll get the arrow drawn in here. There's our entry point. Come on. There's your arrow down because we're taking it short. 1087, so we're just going to put it at 86, even though it's really 87. Hopefully it doesn't come into play because it's selling off so hard. So 1070, 17-cent stop times 3 is 51. So that would be all the way down to 1049. Darn it, we already hit it. Contacts messing with this. Yeah, that's 1049. So we already hit it. I'm still in the trade. I did not have my stop set in there. So that's not right. 17, disregard. Can't do math this morning. So 1053 is the first R. So there's going to be an ugly chart here. So this is what I'm talking about. There's one R right there. So disregard the this line whatsoever. So 1070, and again, one of the reasons I like to draw up in here is you can see the difference between the two, and of course 1R and minus 1R should be the same. So we're into the trade for 1R to the downside and disregard that number. So 17 times 3 is 51. So that's 1019 is our final target. Evidently, I can't multiply by 17, so I'll write that down since I calculated it once. All right, 1023R. Thank you, Burner, for doing some math for me since evidently I cannot this morning. All right, we'll let that cook while we're in some other things. GameStop selling off, that doesn't meet our criteria anymore. Jumia would have worked had we taken it aggressively. Again, I'm not super excited about that. Let's look at some other things. We'll look at longs first, see what happened to Dave and Buster's. They're on the way up about 4% or so. Again, they're talking about opening their stores. Let's check on Goldman Sachs and see how it's doing. They crushed earnings, only up 1% or so. Let's check on Wells Fargo. I assume they're selling off, and they are. Could almost short into Wells Fargo. That'd be more of a long-term kind of swing trade short than what you're going to get out of a day trade. set up nicely. You'd have been able to take it here at 23.34. So probably wouldn't have worked out. You'd definitely be in the green though. All right, other short names out there we're going to look at. Lazy, which is Lazy Day Holdings, kind of a crazy name. So down 15%, again, secondary stock offering. That's why we didn't touch it. OCUL, also a secondary stock offering. And ATEC didn't have much volume. It's basically not moving at all. All right, the other long name we're going to look at to flip to is Bed Bath & Beyond, selling off some assets. So move down, trucking back higher, right at the bottom window of the 5%. So not excited about that long either. Jumia has kind of given up. Ooh, got a nice move down here. So I'll try my math again. So 1053 minus 17 would be 26. 36. Daggone it. 36. So we're at the 2R point. It's not good when I can't do math in the morning. So that's a 2R point. And again, I have exactly 1019 written down as our 3R point. 1020 works if you have your stop set there. So go ahead and get your stuff set up so it does knock you out of the trade if it hits down at 1019 is what we're looking at. So, and again, it's off of the screen there. All right, so trade's going well. Other names we can look at in this left-hand screen. Let's check out Luckin. It showed up mysteriously earlier on up 25 cents. So are we getting back close to $5? Getting there. Got up to $4.90 today, sitting at $4.80 right now. Again, that went up over 5, sold off hard to below 4, and now it's back on the rise. See the market going higher here, so that's good. All right, so here's our trade, Sorrento short. We entered here at 1070, 17-cent stop. There's our first R. We touched our 2R. It's kind of hanging out in the middle there. All right, let's talk about, I'm on a different screen today for some reason. There we go. All right, let's talk about what's going on in the rest of the market. All right, so over on the left-hand side, you can see that NEO up 12%. Again, that was all pre-market off of the upgrade, kind of crazy. There's our Luckin up 5%. Trade Desk up 3.5%. That's nice. Qualcomm 5G play, probably bouncing a little off of the iPhone 12 news yesterday in that event. Mineral special dividend came out for the mineral company there. Tesla up a couple percent, nickel up a couple percent, coal's even up 1.5%. So a lot of names in the green. Overall market, everything's in the green across the board. NASDAQ's is up 0.4. So let's see what's in the red today. Not much of significance. I mean, Northwest or Bank of America, we talked about, gonna have to leave that today. It pains me, it's so cheap, but Workhorse has been in the news a lot about them, about Trump pushing back the Postal Service contract. I haven't seen anybody really say that outside of just some blogger folks on Seeking Alpha. So I don't know that that's true. If that's true, I think you're going to see Workhorse get hit pretty hard. So we'll probably just hold it because we're in it for the contract. So we might as well wait for the contract, right? It'd be short-sighted to leave before we have the contract, even if it is pushed back. So overall, only 25 names in the red or so out of the names we care about. So looking pretty good. Check back long, see if we have any new names. HYLN. Looking at that on another screen. HYLN. Helion Holdings. That has to be a ticker change from something else I have. Otherwise, maybe I just inherited it with somebody that imported it last night, but I don't recognize that name. All right, let's check back to our trade. Trade hanging around the 1.8 level. So we will check after the topic of the day. So topic of the day is, how do banks make money? Well, banks make money through one thing, and one thing, not one thing only, but their primary source of revenue, as you can see here, is called net interest margin. So think for a second. They have a bunch of money that they keep in their little vault. Well, the vault money doesn't make anything. It's what they have. They take in deposits in which they pay you some interest on those deposits. So depending on what bank you go to, you may be happy or not with that. Most people, they're getting paid far less than 1%, and they're not very happy with it. And to get into high yield savings, you're still only talking 1.5% now, and you might have a high minimum to get on that. So, but if they can turn around and lend your money out at 4%, and they're paying you less than 1%, basically they're making 3% off your money. So if you have $100,000 in there, you're making, just sitting there, then that's $3,000. Most people don't have $100,000 sitting in their savings account, but if you do, and again, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. So if you calculate it in reverse as to what you're actually, if you would do that on your own, it's an opportunity cost kind of discussion, but you're really, when you think of, 3,000, if you had $100,000 and have it sitting in the bank, and they're making 3% off of your money that you could have made. So you're paying $3,000 a year. So that's what, $250 a month. It's like you're paying the bank to hold your money. You really are. Not directly, because they're giving you free checking and all these free services and stuff. Well, they're making a killing off of your money. And it's not the big deposits. I mean, the big deposits help, but it's the fact that a lot of people have 10 to 15 grand just sitting in the bank. Well, if they have several hundred customers, that adds up to a big chunk of money. And again, they have to have reserves. So they don't have to have the money on hand to be able to lend it out. They just have to be able to stay above a reserve level. So they can use a little bit of leverage there of, deposits versus what they have out, levered out a bit, so that they can actually even make more money than just the money they have in on deposit. So it's kind of crazy. So and again, I said it earlier, but it's worth repeating, is that, if you drive through small town America, there's 2 gas stations and 7 banks. That should give you an idea of how much money that they are making off your money. So that's why, for me, I know folks that have talked to me, if you got a big chunk of change sitting in the bank, it's just like, no, we're going to invest that. We're going to be the bank. We're going to make 3%, or go into a bond fund making 3%, and just be happy with it instead of it sitting in the bank doing nothing. So that's my take. Let's see what else is in here. Net interest margin. So interest, investment returns, and interest expenses. So again, there's the money they pay out. There's the money they make off of loaning it out to folks, sometimes the same folks, right? Because they don't want, this is their emergency fund, so they're not going to touch it, but they'll take a loan instead. It's like double stupid, but do what you got to do, I guess. What affects net interest margin? Well, obviously we're at low rates, and how long are rates going to stay low? Well, probably a long time, right? So the Fed's saying 3 years. I think that's probably on the short side. So, all right, that's enough for net interest margins and how banks make money. Take a look at the markets real quick. NASDAQ did drop. Why is that different than what I'm seeing over here? Let's refresh. There, that's more like it, because NASDAQ is up over 0.5% on my Schwab screen. All right, let's check our trade one last time. I see it's working against us now, so let's see where we are, and I'll tell you what to do with it. All right, so it did back up. This is normal profit taking during a trade. So there's a bunch of people that have already had their stops set down here, probably looking for like a 2R type day. When those folks cover their shorts, that's what takes it up to a new level. So backing it up there, not worried at all. It's here at 1. So no issue. So what you tend to see in a short is that it will back up for a while and then continue a slow sell off. So I'm happy with where our stops are set. You can come down a penny if you want to 10.85. That would change the R math to 16. I'm just going to leave it where it is because I believe in it. And I think we could, we said it has to go all the way down to 10.19. We'll touch 10.30 at the low. So let's just let this thing cook all day. Set your stops. Again, up here, set your negative stop. If you want to set it at even, I never have any problem with that. I don't do that myself, but I like to set it above the high of the day. So leave the upper stop here at 10.86. If it hits that, we lose an R. Otherwise, we'll check back in 5 minutes prior to the close, close out the trade, and then see where we are, and I will update you tomorrow morning. So with that, that's all I have for today. Sorry for the technical difficulties I had, and we will check back with you on tomorrow. Talk to you soon.